All right, welcome back to Fitness or Fiction. This week on the episode is our first of many interview series. Our first guests, they're actually announcing their own podcast on our podcast, so it's kind of like a spiraling circle of podcast conversation. But we have Jessemodz from the CJ Morning Show, and we have Adam Merkowski.
From Merkowski Enterprises.
Correct.
Merk Mills.
Happy to be here sharing a microphone with my partner here.
Yeah, just make sure you lean in at the same time so it's super awkward.
We'll get some Lady in the Tramp moments going on today for sure.
All right, so today, basically what we're doing with the interview, this is a fitness-based podcast. We are announcing that these two gentlemen are doing their own podcast going forward, but the whole interview series that we're going to do, we're talking to a variety of different people, and it should come as no surprise that our focus is going to be mainly on the fitness and kind of lifestyle component that wraps around that. So we're basically going to get an idea of who these guys are, where they come from, and exactly what their pathway through fitness has been like. Obviously, we're trying to uncover fitness or fiction, so we're going to talk about things that have worked, things that they've discovered are total garbage, and we have really different perspectives here because Adam is a rabid steroid user.
He got a cycle from Liver King.
He has been exercising for a long time consistently, and because he's so muscular, people often ask him about drugs. We'll get into that. It's garbage. We'll talk about a story that vouches for that. And then we have Jesse, and we're going to talk about his experience. He's done a lot of sports and stuff. It's my understanding that it's been kind of a new thing that we're getting into the fitness thing. Is that true?
I had 3 cheese strings for lunch today.
Yeah.
So I'm learning. Yeah.
So we're along the pathway with Jess here. So, but we're going to start out with a little background. So
I got a question for Merk.
Yeah, get it.
Hit me.
So like 15 years ago, when I used to see you in the gym, you wore really big baby blue sweatpants. Did that increase your strength and muscle size?
I'm familiar with the exact.
You remember
sweatpants
them, right? They were noticeable.
And funny enough, ironically, when I look back, and I'm not joking, I look back at pictures of my journey.
You miss them?
Wearing those pants, I was in my absolute peak. So maybe that's kind of I've been kind of peaks and valleys lately, and maybe that's the missing
going through
component.
the thrift stores looking for some baby blue
I
sweats
might need those
again.
again. I'm happy you brought those up.
Bro, those were iconic to me.
that
That's
was-
Merk sweatpants.
Were they velour? They looked soft.
They were, yeah. They were velvet.
That was his Ashanti jaw rule phase.
Nice.
Okay,
Yeah.
back on track. My B.
Okay, so we have top billing with Mr. Modz here. As said by Adam, he gets the top spot. You'll take the bottom. Jesse, let's start out with like a brief background. I know that you do a radio show for CJ92.
Yep.
I know that, but I don't know almost anything else about you. So like let's keep it more like on the perspective of like where you've been as far as activity and exercise. Like,
So I think I'm the kind of case that I've been a roller coaster like my whole life. I remember my dad was like pretty jacked growing up, and when I was in grade 8, he's like, "You should get a gym membership." So I was like, "Okay, what do I do?" And he's like, "I don't know. I'll just buy you a gym membership and you can start going." So I would just go and I would look at all the big guys in the gym and just do what they were trying to do, right? Like if a guy like Adam's size was picking up a 45-pound dumbbell for bicep curls, I was like, oh, that's what I'll do too. And then you realize really quickly that you can't do that. And I think over the years, like especially when I stopped playing sports, that's when it became the hardest for me because, I wasn't doing as much cardio, I wasn't being as active. And I would go from, 260 pounds in a year to 220 almost every year. Like every point in the years from like probably 2007 to now, I've been 260 and I've been 220 in a calendar year. I get on a path where I'm going to the gym and I'm doing cardio and I'm eating right and I'm doing great. And then like one day will set me off and I'll go, oh, that's it, back to being a fat guy. And then I'll get so fat, I'll look in the mirror, I'll go, what have I done to myself? Got to get back to 220. And then I get there and then, I go for a night partying and then I'm like, oh, well, McDonald's for dinner at 2 a.m. and McDonald's for breakfast, and then I'm off the rails again. And I've honest to God done that for the most part since I linked up with Adam in July, where he kind of just kept me, regimented, going to the gym. My eating is still being up and down, and I'm a part owner of a brewery in Calgary called Tool Shed. So, beer is a big part of my life, unfortunately, barbecue, and just trying to like dial in the food and the drinking. It has been like the hardest part since I can remember back when I was a kid.
That's crazy though. Like one night can just like set it all up, like game over.
Yeah, and again, like I don't want to give this guy too much credit, but I'll have days where he checks in on me. He's like, "How was the day? How was the gym?" If I didn't go with him, and I'm like, "Ah, man, I was off the rails last night. Like I popped an edible at 8 o'clock, and at 9:30 I ate everything in my pantry. I went to war with it, and I won." And he's like, "Why'd you do that?" And then I go, "Oh, I don't know."
That seems like an unfair fight to me, bro.
Yeah, seriously, but it's like a war that I've always had. I've always had like food is such a big component in my life. I grew up with my grandparents, and like that's what I would get rewarded with. Like, oh, great hockey game. You want to go for pizza and ice cream? Yeah. Sure. Like that's what I did as a kid. So I've never really learned that aspect of it. Adam can tell you, like I'm dedicated to the gym. I go, I lift, I do all that stuff. But when it comes to eating, I know nothing about it. So that's why I go from 260 to 220 every year, because I dial in and then all of a sudden I'm dialed out again.
Dude, that's a major swing too, like 40 pounds.
The relationship with food too is interesting, like how it's, again, everyone's relationship to food is different.
Yeah.
Oh, well, totally.
Even for me, when I hear like, oh, unfortunately I own a brewery, it's like, oh man, that's good. That's great. You just need to fit that in your lifestyle. So we're starting the training process as of yesterday. So we're going to do some workouts going ahead and stuff like that. But a lot of this, even our conversations yesterday around food, you'll notice that already it's like, no, man, like there's no such thing as good and bad food. It just matters that we're kind of getting the right amounts and we're doing the things that'll push you towards your goals so you still can enjoy that food. So
yeah, I think I'm the kind of guy too that always has like these excuses that come up. For my job, being on the radio, you're doing a lot of events, you're going to concerts, you're going to parties, you're in environments where drinking is what you're doing, right, or eating bad food is what you're doing. Like people in my world don't go to the gym. They go to music festivals and breweries and go for barbecue, and so to like get out of that world for a second to get into fitness, my actual world that I really live in is the other one. So I kind of have to go out of my comfort zone, get into this world, and I love this world, but it's so hard for me to stay on track. Like all my friends, like Adam's met some of my best buddies. We were in my basement one time and we were talking about the gym, and the guy who's one of my best friends was like, I've never been to the gym. Like that's kind of the crew that I was rolling with, and I still love them and I will. But every now and then you got to get guys like this that'll make sure that you live longer than 35, right?
It's weird.
I'm to at least 37.
It's weird. I've always like wondered what like in just like the general population. Let's talk about Calgary because you guys are doing a Calgary podcast. Like the general population of Calgary, like out of 100 people, how many people actually religiously go to the gym? I think the number's way smaller than it is larger.
Oh, I would think. I mean, you guys would probably have a better guess than me. I would guess it would be under 1%.
But no, because like we lived in the gym for 15 years, so that's all we knew.
Yeah,
we just knew all the gym people, but we didn't know all the people who weren't coming through the doors.
Yeah.
Right? So it's kind of I feel like a lot of people would relate to your story.
Well, it's kind of neat. Like if I go to a hockey game with Adam or whatever at the Saddle Dome to go see the Flames, like I'll walk through the concourse there, and people will stop me and buy me a beer, and they'll, hey, let's have a beer, let's have a quick shot, let's take a picture or whatever. And like that's cool, and that's kind of like my crowd, the guys that go out and party and spend their night on the town. When I go to the gym with Adam, it's like I'm walking with Justin Bieber.
Different world.
Yeah, like he's the star of the gym. Everybody comes up to Adam, how's it going? Like to get him away from talking to people is insane. That's why working out with you the other day, where you're like, Adam, let's go. That for me was new because our workouts are 3.5 hours.
Yeah, just so you know, that's not new. Like when I first met him and he was lighter than me, that's how things were too. Yeah. That's how we roll in the gym. That's why I'm like, hey, stick to your rest periods. But to kind of bring her back on track, so fitness hit your radar in like grade 8. You played a bunch of sports. You said you play hockey. What other sports?
Well, I grew up playing hockey, lacrosse, baseball. So I was always very active. I went when I was a kid. I was like pretty husky, but then when I got into grade 8 high school and doing all that stuff, I leaned right out, and that was great. And that was like where the majority of my working out came, was from sports. And when you play like a higher level, they'll throw you into the gym with trainers, and like I did that, and I loved it. The best shape I ever was in, I used to work at a Good Life Fitness, and I was the overnight manager, only because nobody else would do it. And I think I was like 19, and I would go in at 10 o'clock at night. I'd leave at 8 in the morning, and nobody showed up. So I just worked out all night. My buddies would come, and that was like the most lean I've ever been, because I was just in the gym all the time. Right. But yeah, that was the majority of it, was sports, the gym, and then I would also take 4 months off for no reason, just trying to get fat again. I didn't want the girls all over me. Yeah, I got a fiance, 2 kids.
Had to slow them down, right?
Yeah, I didn't want to look like a model all the time. Yeah, so every now and then I had to go back to the bigger guy.
And this is before you were a celebrity and you were fighting off the girls.
Oh, celebrity is a very loose term.
Well, yeah. I wouldn't call you loose, but so what you said that it hit your radar in grade 8, and then we're like fast forward to 19, we're in the gym, we're doing the overnight thing. Like, did you notice results? What was the experience like?
Oh yeah, like I noticed almost like right away when I was doing all the cardio and lifting weights, I was like, oh, my shirts fit better. Everything started to fit better. And when you're working at a gym, as both you guys know, you meet guys like Adam and you guys that will just give you like little pieces of advice. Hey, like, try this, like this. Work out with me today. You can learn some stuff here. Oh, what supplements are you on? Nothing. Oh, you got to get on NO Explode. You got to get on Super Pump. You got to take this kind of protein. You ever heard of Purple K, the creatine? Like, I was just getting blasted with everything. I remember one time working at the gym, and I was taking so much supplements that I puked because I had so many pills in my body. I didn't know what I was taking.
I've been there.
Yeah, I was taking everything. I remember taking Animal Pack vitamins, which had like 15 of them in a package, with Purple K, NO Explode. I took Nitrix, which was like this thing from...
I know Nitrix.
Yeah, it's supposed to like make your veins pop. Nothing ever happened. But
I like the days when guys were like, I'm on like 3 scoops of NO Explode now because 1 scoop doesn't do it anymore. And I'm like, man, I don't know if you should be doing 3-4 scoops.
You put water with your pre-workout? Are you insane? Just take it back. But yeah, like... working at the gym was cool, learning from people, but that's also, I know you guys talk about in your podcast, there's just so many opinions out there that you almost have to pick one person and listen to them, because even if you get another person involved, like all 3 of you guys, I'm sure are very knowledgeable in fitness, you guys probably all have 3 different ways of thinking. I know you 2 do, because I worked out with you guys yesterday. You were upset how quickly he was moving you.
Well, but that's not a different approach. That's laziness.
Yeah.
No, so when you got into the gym, you were bombarded by a bunch of stuff, and with the 3 of us, there's actually a lot of overlap that's really interesting that we'll maybe get into. But what are the things that you noticed that like people would be like, oh, you got to do this, and it didn't make any difference, and what are the things that you did that you were like, hey man, that was a difference maker?
Like, yeah, what was the best tip you ever got? Like something small that you're like, damn, this was a game changer.
For me, it was like finding a gym buddy. Like even when I go back to my 19-year-old days when I think I was in the best shape, I had a guy that like took me under his wing, and he'd be like keeping me accountable. I've been working out steady again since October with Adam, and there's days where I'm like, I can't go, and Adam's like, it's four workouts a week, go. Like if I'm not going with him, I'm going by myself. So for me, it was finding a partner. Like grabbing somebody to keep you accountable. I'm not going to say I keep Adam accountable, but when we're at the gym, I'm trying to push him the way he pushes me, even though he's way more experienced than me. For me, that works. But I also know guys, who are in super great shape that would never go to the gym with somebody because it's like their alone time. So for me, it was just, finding somebody to keep me accountable. That I wasn't, there's online coaches that are great and stuff like that. For me, I needed somebody with me at all times.
Yeah, I think it's huge noticing and recognizing what your style is and what works for you. And like people think that that's fluffy a lot of times. It's like, well, these are the reps that work for me or something. But oftentimes it's actually really reasonable things. Like, well, I'm a social person and with some accountability, I'll make it happen. Like that, how are you going to refute that? Like I've had people that tried the online thing and they're like, man, I got to be in front of you to get this thing done because without accountability, I just don't do it. So it's really important to kind of recognize those pieces. But it's funny, like I didn't hear you recognize any particular supplement that's a difference maker.
For me, and you guys might know way more, like the supplements are almost a placebo. Like I don't know if they're actually doing anything for me, but I know like, oh, I went to the store, I bought the pre-workout, well, I better take it so I don't waste my money. And so I go to the gym. Like I just love that routine of pre-workout, post-workout shake, all that kind of stuff. Does it do anything? I'm sure it does. But for me, it's like, oh, that will make me go to the gym.
I've said that on previous podcasts. Pre-workout to me became more about the ritual than it was about like the stimulus. Like I started taking my pre-workout like a quarter scoop, just a little bit because I just wanted to taste. Like just getting it ready was like, oh, I'm getting ready to work out.
Well, it's also once you take your pre-workout, something has to happen. It's like in the old school. Somebody would slap somebody, and then there was a gunfight after that.
Boy, I mean, have you ever taken pre-workout at home and then gotten stuck in traffic on the way to the gym?
I know you have.
I have, and it's not a fun situation.
Back to the online coaching, I'm sure it works for a lot of people. I came here from Ontario 7 years ago, and when I was working out, sparingly here and there at the gyms, I ran into this guy who, I kind of befriended, out and about. And he's, what is it, IFBB, is that what you call him?
Yeah.
He's an IFBB pro, does Mr. Olympia. He's an online coach. And there was a point, I think it was like last year, I reached out to him. I'm like, hey man, like, I know you do online coaching. Obviously, look at the size of you. Like, you obviously know what you're doing. Would you take me under your wing? And he's like, absolutely. And I found myself like, I got one of the best guys to train me, help me. And I was like, I'm lying to the guy. Like, I was in Vegas one weekend and he had me on this like strict thing. And I was like taking pictures before I went, updating him, telling him, oh yeah, I'm doing that. And I was in Vegas for 4 days. You know what I mean? Like partying off my ass. And I realized like, as great as he is, and he's awesome, I was like, I just need somebody in my life all the time. And maybe that's a flaw. Like, I hope I don't end up 600 pounds one day because Adam's gone.
How much do you pay Merk?
Oh, way too much.
That was
even
quick.
The value of his time. Ooh.
Yeah.
I wanted to paint some weird contrast in the story you're telling earlier for yourself, just versus me or other skinny boys like me, because I've got skinny boy genetics. I was always tiny, like a twig. Got bullied in it for high school for being so skinny. So you say when you went to the gym, you got results quick. And I think like somebody that's like doing their cardio and like lifting weights, and if their diet's on point, they'll drop weight quick. Like I can't speak for you, Merk, but me going to the gym for like a year, the results, like I would get stronger, like hella strong. But in regards to like getting size or getting bigger, like seeing a visible difference took forever.
Yeah,
and it's something I still battle. If I get sick, I lose like 10 pounds. If I get stressed, my appetite's toast. So like going to the gym as a skinny boy, like the results are much more grindy, I feel. Just on a different note.
Well, that's kind of along the lines of the stylistic thing. Like I do online coaching and it's great for some people, and the way that I do it is more checkups, and so the approach that you do is going to be different, but it almost needs to be something where you're adapting to people's styles, because the same style is not going to work for somebody like it works for somebody else. So this adapting style really matters. And then some people, man, they just got to see you. I've got a few clients that they're like, no, I love my program and everything, but I got to see you at least once a week.
It could also be really intimidating. Like I know just working out with you yesterday and just having conversations while we were working out, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's in great shape. He always knows what he's talking about. And you were trying to help me, lose some weight and get in better shape. And I remember saying to you like, oh man, like I like to go out for beers. Like I like to go out with my friends and go sit at, Leopold's in Northwest Calgary, have a couple beers and maybe, some chicken wings while watching the hockey game. I'm like,
Bonus Leopold's?
The one in Sage Hill. But I've been to the Bonus one. But I'm like, can I tell this guy that? Like, he's going to be pissed off. There's a big stigma that, you can't be forthcoming with guys who are as knowledgeable as you guys because you look down on guys like me. But, I think there should be some sort of balance. Obviously, when you're doing that every day of the week, it doesn't work. But, I wouldn't want to do the fitness journey and be looking like you guys are all in great shape if I couldn't live the life that I want to live every now and then.
Well, when you look at the way that Adam eats, it's far from what you would expect once you follow him around for a little bit, right?
He eats out every meal.
I know.
Seriously.
I watch him have like double Big Macs on Fridays.
Yeah. He's
He's always like seeing how many patties I'm going to get with my lettuce wrapped A&W burger.
Yeah.
I don't have gluten because I'm an intolerable hippie. But it's funny because people are like, oh, you must eat perfectly. And it's like, dude, I have candy every day. I love candy. They're like, what are you talking about? I thought you had to be perfect. It's like, no. So that's one thing we'll work through in your training for sure. But so right now in the fitness journey, if I'm hearing you correctly, you're at the point where you're kind of working your way down from the 40-pound sway.
Yeah, well, all I'm trying to do personally is just be consistent. And, like Adam got me on, you don't need to go 6 days a week to the gym. You don't need to go 5. Like if you go 4 days a week, every single week for the rest of time, like your results will come. So that's what I've been doing. We go Monday, Tuesday, take Wednesday off, Thursday, Friday, and maybe I'll get in something else on a weekend if I feel up to it. But I feel so accomplished now just going that 4 days. Where before I'd go, 6 days a week, I had to eat perfect. If I missed one day or I screwed up on a meal, I was done, right? The way I do it now is so attainable. 4 days a week, okay, I can do that. I'm a busy guy like everybody else is. If it's 45 minutes one day, I go do that. If it's 2 hours, one day I'll do that. If it's 4 hours, because people won't leave Adam alone at the gym, it's 4 hours. But getting in 4 times and my meals, I don't have anything regimented right now. We'll work on that, but I just try to make healthier decisions. As long as I'm not on the jazz cabbage before bed, then it's all out the window. But
Yeah, well, that's part of the learning process too. Like I think the most successful people are the ones that have this kind of moderation sort of idea. Like the people that I see that are in the best shape aren't the ones that are in the gym the most of the time. They're not the ones that are in the gym the most. They're the ones doing more effective stuff, and their lifestyle is something that fits. Like the people that try to have no fun and work out all the time, they're not the ones that are in the best shape for the most part. And there's exceptions to the rule for sure, but like I think that's going to be a big thing for you that's super valuable.
I was going to say there's dysfunction on both ends. There's dysfunction on the end of not doing anything, dysfunction on the end of doing too much, that all or nothing mentality of like, gotta go 7 days a week and keep everything perfect. Oh, I slipped. F it all. Like, let it all fall apart.
Yeah. 2 years ago, I did like a fitness challenge in 1 month. It was me, Bret the Hitman Hart, and his son-in-law, Steve. And we were just all like sitting there, like looking at ourselves, being like, what are we doing? We were actually in Bret's backyard around a fire while we were looking at ourselves, and we were just, eating whatever. And we're like, okay, September 1st, we're going to do a weight loss challenge. So we're going to weigh ourselves September 1st. Whoever loses the most amount of weight wins. The other two guys have to pay for like a super nice dinner. We went to Caesar's Steakhouse. And I remember, okay, I'm in. And I'm going to do the best I can to beat Bret, to beat Steve. And I lost 27 pounds in 30 days. And I lost. Like Steve lost 29 pounds. I think Bret lost 12. Like everybody did great. And I remember looking at myself going, oh my God, I just lost almost 30 pounds in 30 days. But I was so unhealthy. Like I was hardly eating. I was doing so much cardio. And I remember looking at myself going, okay, I got down almost 30 pounds. It was back within 30 days. Like I lost it in 30 days. I probably gained it back in 30 days because like that kind of lifestyle, also not sustainable, right?
So you're learning about consistency and sustainability?
Yes.
Damn. I love hearing things like that. Like this. So sometimes I think I can speak for both of us when I say
You want to speak for everyone in the room?
Yeah, I'm going to speak for everyone in the room. You always do it. But like often we feel like we're taking crazy pills because some of what we're saying is like, man, do the things that are the most impactful. And like taking all of the supplements and stuff, when I talk to Merk, you're going to hear that there can be a difference there for sure. But for the average person, consistency is going to be way better than any supplement that they take.
If I speak for everybody in the room, like to your point, me and Curtis say this often, like we've said on the podcast, when we meet a new client and they're like, I want to work out like 6 days a week, we normally try to slow them down. We're like, you know what? Why don't we start with 3 or 4 and then see how things go? Because we probably have experience with guys who go 6-7 days a week and then just fall apart. So often we're trying to like chill people out a little bit and try to get more realistic. Rather than go to the gym 6 days a week, you go 4 and then work on your meal prep for those other 2. Day 5 and 6 where you would have went to the gym, you meal prep those hours instead and it'd be more effective.
And if you're Adam, you would just meal prep by choosing where you're going to be so that you can eat out properly.
Yeah.
Are you near McDonald's? Are you near A&W?
Exactly.
Well,
but it's funny because you can actually find food eating out, even if you're trying to stay on track. You can find stuff that'll do the job. It's shocking.
Well, even just, going back to going out with Adam for lunches or dinners, it's just sometimes, you don't need the buns. I went to Subway. I'm like, do I need a loaf of bread right now? Like with my lunch? No, I'll just get a bowl, right? Like there are little modifications I've made. And just really quickly back to that weight loss challenge. And when you say like consistency, I would never want to lose 30 pounds in a month again. I'd rather do it over 6 months, right? Because that 30 pounds, I felt great at the end of it, but like there's no way I was going to do cardio for 3 hours a day every day and eat maybe one meal of a head of lettuce, and like it sucked, right? But if you do it over time, it's great.
You got to be honest though, it felt good to say you beat Bret at something. If you're saying, hey, I beat the Hitman one time at something, I could be like, yeah, I screwed him up on checkers though, baby.
You should see. So we did a before and after photo, and I can send them to you if you want to put it in here. But we took a photo before we did the weight loss challenge, and then right after. And I look like I gained 20 pounds, and everybody looks like they lost 50. Like, it's the worst photo, the angle. I'm like, everyone, when we put it on the CJ page, like, did Jesse get fatter? And I lost 30 pounds. Like, give me a break.
They out-angled you.
They did, seriously. Yeah. And I'm stressing about this angle right now, full on, no table.
Well, you're wearing black, though. Black slimming.
I always wear black.
He was strategic.
Yeah.
So, basically, when we talk about your fitness journey, we've got a lot of really relatable stuff, man. Like, did sports, and after sports, I had to figure out what I was going to do. Ups and downs, trying to figure out what's going to work. But I find it really interesting and can be really impactful for some of the people listening. The thing that you've learned about the most is, you're stylistically more inclined to have social support. Mm-hmm. That's huge. And then the other thing that we're talking about is well, you know what, at the end of the day, the thing that's been most impactful is realistic goals that I can actually hold myself accountable to that fit my lifestyle.
I wonder what the science is, because there's a stereotypical, especially in some movies, the jocks in school that were always like in great shape and they were playing the sports, and then you fast forward to them in their 30s and they're out of shape, balding, guys just sitting on the couch yelling about the hockey team with a big beer belly, drinking a beer with barbecue sauce on their face, right? I wonder what the mindset is for those people, because I kind of fall into that. I was in good shape, always active, and never had a problem going to the gym or working out. All of a sudden something clicks and it's over.
No barbecue sauce on your face today, though. So
Not yet, no.
The weird thing about that, though, is like school sets you up like, oh, you have gym class and you have sports class.
Yeah.
And once you become like kicked into adulthood, there's no more gym class. It's just go to work, pay the bills, and try to survive, right?
Well, and we do have some data on that. Like 8 out of 10 Canadians don't hit their 150 minutes of exercise a week. Like, we know that's the case. We know that the average person is overweight. Like and it's only on BMI,
Merk.
but people that aren't currently exercising, that's going to be pretty reasonable, right? And so we do have data on it, and the average person is not what you would consider super in shape. And I really do think that a lot of that comes back to the idea that in high school, how much time was dedicated towards teaching us how to manage our schedule, our routine, giving us reasonable information so that we could plan for adult life.
One thing I think is really impactful for, like, I have two young boys. One's 10, Nixon, and my other guy's 6. His name is Max. And my kids watch me and my fiance work out. My fiance is in super good shape. She does yoga, she does boxing, she goes to the gym, and she works out at home a lot of the times. And my kids are like watching that. So they're always like, Mom, Dad, like, can we go to the gym? No, you can't go yet. They're too young. But they want to do push-ups and sit-ups at home. And I feel like if there's fitness in the home, it's going to be passed down to the kids. There was never fitness in my home. My grandpa, I grew up with my grandparents. Grandpa was a chain smoker, drank beer, sat in front of the TV. My grandma, was always stagnant. I never had any of that around me growing up. I kind of had to learn that. Whereas I could see it in my kids already. They're so active. They want to be in good shape. My youngest is always taking his shirt off and flexing. How are my muscles, Dad? Are they getting bigger? Oh, yeah, buddy. They're getting bigger. I feel like, especially for all of us, I'm not sure if you have kids or and I know you do. The more you can show your kids like what a healthy lifestyle looks like, the more it'll just be ingrained in them, where they're not like me, where I go, oh, I got to go to the gym. I got to eat healthy. If you ingrain it in them when they're so young, it'll just be part of their life going forward.
We're chatting.
I don't know everything about kids by any stretch. I've got a 7-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 1-year-old. But one thing that I do know about kids is modeled behavior is key, man. Mm-hmm. Like, I can say whatever I want to them, but what they see me do, so my kids, they do Olympic lifting already. They do snatches, they do clean and jerks. We have a whole episode on how safe it is for kids to exercise. But it's one of these things that if they see it modeled, I think you're right. It's not just our schools. It's also, at home we have this kind of duty of care for the kids.
We were chatting about that on a previous episode as parents, talking about like it's a hard statement to say, like it's a really like hard line in the sand, but it's like almost your responsibility as a parent to set your kids up for success, and part of that success is showing them how you take care of yourself. And then chances are too, after your workouts, you're going to have more patience with your kid. You're going to be more present and in the moment with your kids because you have like a more clear head. You're less stressed, things like that. Like, it sets up the chemical cocktail in your body to be optimal for just having a better day.
One of the things, and I'm not saying I'm the perfect parent by any means, but we don't reward our children with like McDonald's, ice cream, candy, that kind of stuff. That's what I was rewarded with. Oh, good job, you scored a goal in hockey, let's go to McDonald's, right? So my kids, like, we reward them with, hey, like, if you do your chores, we'll go to the park and we'll throw the ball around, we'll go play baseball. Like, just trying to bring fitness into their life as well. And it's definitely worked so far. Like, my kids, all they know is activity. All they know is sports. They don't eat the healthiest. They're still kids. They still want McDonald's and their candy and stuff like that. But we don't make it like, oh, if you're good, 12 cheeseburgers like Merk. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he has 12 patties on one bun.
Yeah, we'll get into all that. Yeah. It's not as bad as it sounds.
It's weird because each patty just starts to like pop right into his pecs. Just
it injects to his muscle tissue.
I will give full justifications on
I keep seeing you like straighten yourself up and just like popping the pecs out even more. Like, every time you straighten out, the pecs be popping.
He's trying to out-angle Jesse again. It's that photo all over again with Brett.
I want him to watch this back and just feel horrible about himself.
So one thing that we also talk about when it comes to parenting, and it's really easy to get preachy. We're not doing that by any stretch. I think modeled behavior is good. So if you do exercise, let the kids see it and try to involve them in it, I think is a fair statement. The other thing is we as trainers often deal with people that they say things like, I'll do anything for my kids, and they believe it. And I'm not saying that they wouldn't by any stretch, but making this connection to, hey, listen, for you being in the best shape that you can be and the best health that you can be, so you can be around longer. Totally. and you can be the best version of yourself because of all of the neurological and chemical changes that happen due to exercise. That connection isn't always made for people. They're like, yeah, I do everything for my kids, but it doesn't seem to apply to looking after their physical being. It's almost like they want to put on the oxygen mask on their kid while they're on the plane before they put their own on. Mm-hmm. So it's one thing that me and Eric have talked about a few times, just trying to draw those lines so that people can see that, like, listen, this is for your kids. You'll do anything for them, man. Take care of yourself.
It's easy to translate, though. Like, I can't speak for you guys, but definitely for me, like, I wish that my parents took better care of themselves. Like, I wish my parents took better care of themselves and that they were more healthy. I'd be great. Like, I'd be fantastic if my mom and dad were in phenomenal, tip-top shape and living their best life. And I think most children would say that about their parents, right?
Well, I couldn't even imagine going on like a hike with my parents. Yeah. You know what I mean? Me and my kids go hiking. I also think this is like a whole new generation that we have now. Our kids are growing up in totally different times. I can't remember way back in the early 90s and stuff like that, but was fitness is thrown in your face, and you know, like, look how vain everybody is with TikTok and Instagram. Nobody wants to look like crap. More people are going to the gym, passing that on down to their kids. It just feels like it's a different time.
Well, back then they were doing step aerobics with the spandex. Oh, Have you seen those bits?
Body break.
Ooh, yeah.
What was it? Jean-Claude Van Damme was in some of that?
Oh, Jean-Claude.
You remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah. Don't forget the thigh master, baby. Never forget. So I think that you have a lot of relatable stuff there that's pretty stellar. We'll probably break this episode into 2 parts because we barely ripped on Adam yet. We're not near as bad as
I really want to know where he bought like his Liver King cycle.
Yeah.
Because liver is king.
Direct from Liver King. I got everything. I got right.
He's your boy. You go down to Texas and
he got the TM version.
You should know Adam gets a little upset when you talk about the steroids.
Yeah.
No. So
we'll get there. We'll
set every record straight right now before we get too far ahead. There is no steroids, but we'll dig into all
So let's start with background and then I'll defend you, I promise.
Thank you.
Okay, so Adam Murkowski is a long-term distant acquaintance. So we've been friends for, since 2006, 5?
Yeah, 2006.
Yeah, so we got to be friends because Adam liked my bench press.
Yeah.
I'm actually not even joking. You came over to talk to me because of my bench press.
He would like something
like
100%.
That. Yeah, that's absolutely true. I'm going to give a quick plug before I
here we go.
Before I get into my journey. So this has kind of ended up being an unofficial announcement of our new podcast, Modz and Merk. So happy to be here with my new partner in crime, Jessemodz from CJ92. We're in the midst of launching our own podcast, Modz and Merk, where we'll be dissecting all things Calgary, chatting with some familiar faces. Stay tuned. That's all I'll say right now.
I also want to shout out Starbucks.
Unofficial sponsor of this episode.
He got that free. All he had to do was not pay for it. Okay, so 2006. Yeah, that's when we met. So that was at the very start of my journey into fitness. So I grew up as a diehard WWF fan, right? WWF back in the day. So I was always idolizing all of these, and especially back then, late 90s, early 2000s. Sorry, everyone was larger than life, right? So I was obsessed with wrestling. So that's what I grew up just idolizing. I ate, slept, and breathed wrestling, right? So that was always my end goal. Was, oh man, like one day I want to look like these guys. Well, I mean, I did want to be a wrestler. I never pursued it, but I more so just the whole personality, right? Even just the way those guys dressed, right? And I mean, I still kind of dress like I still wear things. Like, what the hell are you wearing, Merk? Right? But I still just like I've just grew up idolizing that whole package.
Yeah,
right?
He saw Stone Cold and he wanted to be Steve.
Yeah, who was your top guys?
Top guys?
Your favorites?
I mean, it would depend on if we go through eras. So I guess top 3 of all time would be Shawn Michaels, Hollywood Hogan, and probably John Cena.
They're all
legends.
legends.
Call yourself a Calgarian and put Shawn Michaels above Bret Hart.
I know. I'm scared for
any kind of destruction.
No mention of the Hart family at all from a Calgarian.
Wow. Hey, well, we'll talk about that later.
I thought that you were a proud child star that would support other stars from Calgary.
Hey, I'm going to be candid.
He was in an episode of Debbie Does Dallas. I mean, he was in an episode of... Not an episode. You were on the series for Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, yeah?
Yep. Yeah, I played Kenny the Paperboy.
Kenny, like the one who always gets killed on South Park?
No, I did. Ironically enough, I did get shot down with an assassin, kind of morphed into my body, and I got shot down with a tranquilizer gun while I was in the midst of strangling the main character.
Do you tell this to your kids? Like, is that like a real story? Like, this actually happened to Daddy?
Oh, yeah. they have seen the episode, so they know it's just TV.
Well, you got to film with Christopher Reeves too, didn't you?
I did, yeah. But I mean, we'll save these stories for
while
now.
he could still walk, right?
Yeah, I'm more curious about your pets, bro.
I have a picture with Christopher Reeves, which is like a lifelong keepsake for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so you got into fitness. How old were you in first?
So all this being said, so that was kind of always like even as a kid, right? I started watching wrestling when I was 10. I was always like, I want to be like that. I want to look like that, right? Around the age when most kids start to work out, which is high school, I had gotten into the wrong crowd. That was like any kind of sport or fitness or anything like that was nowhere near my radar, right? So I didn't actually start, well, I guess, the first 2 years after high school, I don't really count that as the beginning of my fitness journey. I would go to a gym, and this was largely because, I'd see like girls that I like dating a guy that looked like an actual man, and I still looked like a little boy, right? So growing up, I was always the scrawniest of all my friends, right? I was the recipient of a lot of bullying all through elementary, junior high, even high school. I was always just tiny, right until the day I graduated high school. So that was always kind of my DNA, but then I would see, these other guys kind of growing into men, and I was like, well, I want to do that, right? So for about 2 years after high school, I would go to the gym for like 2 months, take 4 months off, go back for like 6 weeks, 3 months off, right? So I don't even really include that as the start of my fitness journey because I didn't really know what I was doing. And I'll speak to, you've spoke about results and how they happen. So in those 2 years kind of doing that, I was 153 pounds when I started working out. Same height I am now. I'm 6 feet tall. So 153 pounds at the start of my journey. Over the course of those 2 years, I gained 7 pounds. So I got up to 160 pounds. And that was, I'd work out and I'd hear people say, well, you got to eat lots. So like one of my go-to meals was poutine, right? Well, I got to eat lots. I got a large poutine, right? Like I had no idea what I was doing, right? I guess there'd be a little bit of protein content in the cheese curds. Cool. But aside from that, like just straight empty calories, right? And I'm not joking, right? I'd go buy a full bag of Doritos and eat that. I'm like, well, I'm eating lots. I'm full.
This
was your first run-in with whey.
This is the skinny boy genetics we're talking about.
Yeah, exactly, right? So over the course of those 2 years, I gained 7 pounds. And I was also, you'll hear people say they were skinny in high school, and then you look at them, and they had this like shredded, ripped build. Like I was never that. I was skinny. I didn't have an ounce of muscle on my body, right? So I did my first year of university in Lethbridge. And while I was in Lethbridge, one of my good friends in Calgary got into working out at Sunridge World Health, right? Which is where I met Curtis. And while I was in Lethbridge, he was like, look, when you get back, like you've got to start working out with me. I know you've kind of dabbled in the gym, but like when you get back, because I was moving back to finish my degree at U of C, when you get back, we're hitting this 4 times a week, like we're getting into a set routine and regimen, right? So I moved back, and so that May, actually I'm probably like 10 days away from my 17-year anniversary of working out. That May, I started working out with him, and I haven't looked back. So the beautiful thing, if I want to speak to different things that have made the most impact on my fitness journey, the community, and you kind of spoke to this about working out with me and me holding you accountable and stuff. For me, and I still need this, I need a big sense of community. So I think I was lucky enough to join Sunridge World Health, and I've been chasing this high ever since. That gym doesn't exist anymore, but it had such a huge, that's where I met Eric too, such a huge sense of camaraderie and positivity that I got in there, and it was just so easy to talk to everyone. Curtis talked about, me seeing him benching 4 plates when he weighed, 185 pounds, right? And I was like, oh my goodness, who is this guy? I want to be friends with him, right? Go talk to him. Well, we're doing chest today. Come work out with me, right? There was such a great network of people that I could pick their brains about, and I actually became educated on what I need. Yeah, you need to eat lots. You don't need to eat poutine. You need to eat more protein, right? So you need more higher content calories in your system if you want to gain weight. So those first 2 years of working out, I gained 7 pounds. The 4 months off from school, finished school at the start of May, go back to school at the beginning of September. Those 4 months, I gained 25 pounds. Because I actually learned about what I was doing from such a great network of people, right? So again, we can speak to supplementation. That played a big role in it. I took Weight Gainer, Ultimate Nutrition Muscle Juice. So that's 1,300 calories per serving. I would take 1,300 calories every morning. I would be full literally all day long because I was eating so much food and just loads of protein. Oh yeah, dude, it was huge. Yeah, 4 huge scoops, right? And then I would take another 1,300 calorie serving right before bed so that I wouldn't burn any of that off.
Yeah.
It was absolutely instrumental though in me gaining weight. And I learned too, those past 2 years of working out, I had no idea what I was doing in the gym. Like I wasn't doing anything properly, you know, and I would go to gyms like Village Square Leisure Center, you know, like the Y, where there's not people to talk to. I would just go in and do what I thought was a thing, right? But joining that gym, I picked so many people's brains and learned so much that I started at UFC that September looking and feeling, because, you know, I had a pretty low self-esteem growing up, right? Being the recipient of bullying and always being the runt and stuff. I went looking and feeling like a completely different person. And that, like gaining those 25 pounds over that summer and going into that new mindset was so addictive. And that's why I said, like, I'm coming up on my 17-year journey of working out. And in those 17 years, I could probably count on two hands the number of workouts I've skipped, right? Because it felt so good to see those results and get that kind of recognition.
So one thing I would say about your journey that's really, really interesting. So I said to you kind of off the cuff, like 3 years ago I was like, okay, so people always ask you what drugs you're taking. It's actually almost annoying because they're discounting the fact that it's been 17 years.
I made an Instagram post about that the other day. Yes.
Yeah, like you really don't miss that many workouts and whatever else. And the longer you go being consistent, the more of an impact it makes in a lot of ways, I think. But we're at the pool, and I said to you, I'm like, okay, so I've had people ask me all the time, he's taking drugs, isn't he? And I was like, well, okay, listen, I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I know that you're really consistent with your exercise, but I also really know that you're consistent with your supplementation. So I tell you what, next time you're buying your supplements, buy them from me too. I'll take everything that you're taking from the supplement store, nothing that's nefarious in any stretch. But I'll take all of your supplements from the supplement store. I'll pay you for it, whatever it costs, whatever. And I remember you came into work with this bag of stuff and a big smile on your face. You're like, I'm so excited. But literally it was 5 weeks and I gained 8 pounds.
Right.
And it was like, okay, so you've got your ZMA before bed. You've got your weight gainer in the morning. You've got this protein after your workout. Here's your pre-workout. Like it was a pretty significant thing. And I like to call it a shotgun approach because it was one of everything. There's creatine, pre, post, protein, weight gainer, recovery before bed.
Yeah, intra, yeah. All bases were covered, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that in conjunction with what I was doing in the gym, I mean, if you were just to take all that and, give a half effort in the gym, it's not going to have those maximum payoffs, right? Yeah. But because I was doing, and so Jesse spoke to this, right? 4 workouts a week is what we do. That's what I've always done. That's what works for me. And it's so easy to stick to, right? Typically, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday off for a midweek break, Thursday, Friday, weekends off. You miss a day in the week, you have 3 other days to make up for it. Like my least favorite excuse in fitness is for someone to say, I don't have time. There's always time. Like
That's the most famous excuse.
It is, and you just need a sustainable schedule.
But we got to pause you there for a sec because it's not just 4 days a week. It is 4 days a week, true, but it's also a specific split. I've been doing your programming for a while.
Oh, I do. Yeah. I'm very stuck in my ways.
And I know that you're more open than some people to information. Like if I show you, like, hey, listen, on your shoulder, in your execution, if you consider this and you lengthen your arm a little bit extra and get this angle, you'll feel it more. You're open to it. You try it and you look over and you're like, oh, dang, that actually works. I'm going to use that. You're really open. But one thing that is like a no budging on you, I've been doing your programming for 6 months now. Yeah. And it's like, okay, listen, but my split is going to be front on Monday.
Well, back and tries.
Oh, back and tries. Sorry, it's back on Monday. It's going to be, the back, and it's going to be triceps, the back of my body. It's going to be your leg day on
Thursday.
On Thursday, that's
Shoulders
right.
Tuesday,
it's going to be shoulders on Tuesday. It's going to be a rest day Wednesday. You can change that if you had a busy week. And then Friday, before we hit the pool, it's
that weekend
going to
pump
be
chest and biceps.
Front. We just call it front. Pecs and biceps. You do abs pretty much every day.
I do abs and sort of every
But I can mess around with the stimulus that we're using, the rest periods, the intensity, the tempos. I can mess with almost anything.
But
there's this hard stop that's like, yo,
don't touch the split.
Listen, it's back and tries on Monday. Don't get crazy. And I'm not saying that's a weakness. I'm saying, if you know that works out well, that you can recover on your 4-day split and whatever, we just work with it. I don't fight you on it because, listen, if we have consistency, intensity, we got a lot of stuff going on.
I just wanted to add to that too, like pay you a compliment. I have a lot of respect for you.
I appreciate that.
We've known each other for a long time, but you're one of the most, like Curtis said, open to information and receptive to information. You have probably one of the best physiques walking around the gyms on most days, and you're probably one of the most humble when it comes to your workouts in general. But like me as a trainer, like I've trained you a couple times too in the gym. We've played around a little bit. even me being like smaller, skinnier than you, or maybe even less experienced, like maybe more educated, but less experienced overall, you were very receptive to anything that I ever told you or talked to you about, and you just take that information. Like, you took in information from anybody who would give it to you. Obviously, you have to be selective with what information you're receiving, but to that point, yeah, like very, very humble.
I want to piggyback that for 1 sec. I give him tips sometimes, and he listens to me. I'll be like, Adam, can I do the arm workout today? He goes, if I think it makes sense. And then I'll give him like what I want to do that day, and he'll go, oh, I've never tried that, or I haven't done that in 10 years. Let's do it. So me walking around, I always say I'm like his prison inmate that just got to go to the gym with him. Because when we go to the gym together, I dress in all black. I look like an idiot. I don't wear proper gym clothes. This guy's like all styled out. And then I'm like, okay, Adam, we're going over here. We're going to do this for shoulders today. And he follows along and he does it. And then afterwards he'll go, oh, like I like that, or no, I didn't like that. So he's very open to information, even from guys like me who have no experience, no education.
Well, and on the other end, like, I don't want to pump your tires too much, but at the end of the day, I have seen you listening to absolute drivel from people, and I can tell when you're listening to it, and I know that you're getting it, and you're still like, oh yeah, okay, and you're super respectful, even though you're being told total garbage. And you're so good at being like, yeah, okay, I understand where you're coming from on that. And you don't use it because you could identify this is, well, that doesn't line up. I know that. But you're so good at being like, okay, well, thanks for sharing. You're just so nice about it. You don't even come and talk trash after.
Remember when I tried to get you to do triceps on the assisted pull-up machine?
Yeah.
And you did it, and afterwards you're like, that was trash.
But I did it.
Yeah.
No, honestly, I really appreciate the compliment on gym humility. That's
you look good
one of the biggest compliments you can give me. Thank you, man. Honestly, that really means a lot. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, ego has no place in fitness, right? And that's been, if I were to speak to 3 pillars that have been, monumental in my journey, checking your ego at the door would be one of them, because that's something I've did when I started working out, like I talked about during those 4 months off from school, where I picked as many brains as I can. 17 years later, it's still something I do, right? I pick brains. If I see someone who looks like in better shape than me, I always see what they have to say, see what their journey's been like, try new things. Or if I see someone, to your point, Eric, I mean, yeah, you're not as big as me, or you're absolutely more educated, and I've seen you work with your clients, so you're like, hey, can I run you through a workout? Absolutely, man. Let's do it, right? I'm always open to learning, and that's been so key in my success in the gym.
So ego at the door is number 1. You said there's 2 more. Let's hear.
Yeah, so the 3 I'd say would be ego at the door, learning the dietary needs for your body. So in my case, it was needing more high content calories and protein. That's 1, 2, and 3, which I already kind of spoke to, would be a sense of community, right? And I can speak to that in terms of when I started my fitness journey, and last December when I had a complete full pec rupture and really kind of had to start from scratch with my journey. And without the community and support system I had, and you were a big part of that, Curtis, I absolutely would not have been able to recover. So those for me have been the 3 key components of my journey.
The community piece is funny because me and you were chatting in the pool, whatever, a year ago. Because I've been doing all my workouts exclusively from my garage.
Yeah.
And you're like exclusively, mostly from the gym. And you're like, oh man, isn't it hard to work out from the gym because or in the garage because nobody's around? And we had a pretty big discussion on the difference between working out completely by yourself versus being on the show.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't, no matter what level I was at in my life, I mean, even if I could afford, to buy the Rock's Iron Paradise, I wouldn't do it. Like, I need the gym, I need the community, I need the vibe. Like, I can't do it without that.
It's mental space for you too, is it not?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, 100%.
Like
I mean,
a different physical space to get you away from like the rest of your day and have your kind of zone. It's like your third space. You got your work, you got your home, and then you got your third space.
100%. And, and that I'll kind of actually add into the 3 keys of my success. Actually, the 4th one, and ironically enough, might be the most important one. When a lot of smaller guys come up to me, they're like, man, how'd you get so big? The number 1 thing I tell them is time, right? It takes patience. They'll come to me and say, I've been doing pretty good. And I'm like, that right there told me everything I needed to know. Like, I didn't get to where I'm at by doing pretty good. I got to where I'm at by doing really good, right? By doing perfect. And what I mean by that, when I say really good and perfect, I don't mean going in and benching 4 plates. I mean, it's 4 workouts a week. You don't skip those workouts. Yeah. You maximize your time in the gym. I can kind of, at the level I'm at now, I can kind of chat a little more and stuff. But like when it was go time, and I was putting on those results, like every minute, every second in the gym counted, right? So you don't skip. and you maximize, I like to call your moments under tension, right? The guys are like, I've been doing pretty good, you know, and they'll follow it up by, you know, I was in Mexico earlier this week, so of course I didn't work out there, and you know, it was my cousin Billy's birthday on Friday, so had to skip the gym that day. Like, well, you know where I was when it was my cousin Billy's birthday? I was late because I went to the gym in between work and the gym and the party, right?
Take that, Billy.
It's no, but I mean, it's just, it has to be top priority, right? Never ever skip, and then it just takes time, right? It's been a very long, slow, gradual process, but it just has to be top priority.
I got a question for the three of you guys, actually, if you don't mind. So one of the things that I deal with, and I think a lot of people deal with who aren't as consistent as the three of you, is that voice inside your head. Like, I always, like, I'll get up and I'll go, I want to go to the gym today. And my body's like, okay, yeah, you do want to go to the gym today. And then there will be something in my head that goes, but it'd be way better to watch TV and just chill out and not do that. And sometimes, like, you listen to that, right? You're like, oh, man, I'm going to the party instead of going to the gym because the voice in my head told me that. I even get it so bad sometimes that I'll go to the gym, I'll walk in the door, I'm in my gym clothes, I took my pre-workout, I'll grab a dumbbell, I'll start lifting, and the voice inside my head goes, it'd be so much better to be at home right now. And my brain is leading me out the door. And I do everything I can to just stay with it. And I'm like, okay, shut that part of my brain off and keep going. And I've talked to Adam about this, and he said, like, oh, there's a supplement for that. Like, not joking, he's like, there is a supplement for that. But how would you guys, as like trainers and educated people, have guys like me overcome that voice in your head that's trying to get you out the door?
I'll jump in quick, and then I mean, if you guys, I'm sure your guys' answers would be different than mine. For me, and so I mean, just to give a little bit of background about how I'd answer that. So when I say 4 workouts a week, that's including holidays, that's including being sick, that's including, like, you know, everything, right? My kids are sick, everything, like no matter what, those 4 workouts are happening, right? So if I'm working out at 7 in the morning after a night out in Thailand with buddies, which happened for a week straight, am I having a good workout? No. I'm still there doing the workout though, right? So I think my answer to that would be, there's a lot of days too where I walk into the gym and I don't feel like doing it, and I still go through it. Might not be the best workout, but at the end of it, I did that workout that week, right? So I think you just have, for me, when I feel like that, I just tell myself, I don't want to be here right now. I'm tired. I was having some drinks last night. My kid's at home sick. I need to get back to him. But I'm going to get through this workout. It won't be the best one, but I'm going to do it because I have to do 4 workouts a week.
Yeah, so like that speaks to kind of the non-negotiable nature of it. Like, so he makes a contract with himself and he delivers on it. The challenge with that thing, like you'll see a lot of social media stuff, like, oh, just do it, man. Just get changed and go do it. And I don't disagree with that. I'm not trying to crap on anybody, because obviously that's been working for Adam, and it's in his head, it's non-negotiable. I think the thing that has allowed him to form that is he has a really clean line in his head on what it does for him. So we always talk about, like, he'll start with your why and really understand what it's doing for you. And the more things that you can loop into that, and the more you can get clear on what the behavior is that kicks the thing off, the better. So for me, it's challenging because human behavior is not super easy, and each person has a different style. But I think what you're talking about is very relatable. It's consistent that people deal with this thing where it's like, well, how do you get going? Like, I'm at home, I'm comfortable, I got some Skittles gummies sitting beside the bed, you know? And the non-negotiable thing to develop that, I think the kind of step back from that is like, okay, so why are you really doing this? Like, how important is it to you? Because for some people, they're like, I don't care what my weight is. And it's like, okay, well, what do you care about? And it's like, well, listen, I feel better when I do it. For me, I'm dealing with my own challenges and whatever else. But emotionally, if I don't work out for 3 days in a row, I know I'm not going to feel very good. And that's part of my condition, and I know that. But as soon as I started noticing that, I'm like, man, I'm not going to be humping around my house being a grumpy guy for my kids. Like, I get it done, and it's not negotiable because I'm going to represent the best I can for my kids, and I'm going to be proud of what I represented as much as possible, which, you know, from being a parent, you never feel like you're winning. Mm-hmm. So if you really care about being a good parent, it's not like, yeah, you know what, I'm killing it, I'm doing everything 100%. You're always going to want to be better. But for me, I'm like, I'm not very good if I've not been taking care of myself, and it does impact me emotionally more than it ever did. So for me, it's like, well, my why behind this stuff really isn't body composition anymore. It's what it is I want to be able to represent the best I can for my kids, and that includes physically the ability to continue to walk, which sounds stupid, but it's a thing for me. Mm-hmm. And the way that I represent myself for my kids and my ability to be the happy guy that I am, rather than feeling beat down and sad, right? So for me, I would say, like, well, it gets a little touchy-feely, it does, but like when we can do that little work to be like, okay, why does this actually matter for me? Why does it matter for the people around me? And why does it need to be non-negotiable? The better we can lock that in, if we can couple that concept with the idea of this is attainable, like 4 days a week, think about how he talks about it. He talks about it passionately. You got 3 days in case you miss a day. Like, you got no excuse. It just, he's run down this road of, I know what it does for me. I know why it's important, and it's non-negotiable for the following reasons. He's literally convincing himself every time he talks about it, which is, I think that's key. Eric, what do you have to say on that one?
So we got just ruthless discipline and intrinsic why, like the intrinsic why. For me, it's more, I'm going to go on the different end of the scope. For me, I'm going to go with a little hack, because the internet loves hacks, right? When you say your brain's leading you out of the gym once you're already there, so you already got to the gym, but you're like, you start lifting, your brain's like, oh man, I don't want to be here, I should jet. For me, a higher intensity warm-up normally can kind of kick that feeling. So normally if I'm going to the gym and I'm in a good headspace and I'm like ready and I'm like excited about it, I would prefer to hit a slower warm up and ease myself into the gym, because I'm already feeling it. Like I'm already like prepping myself mentally for it. For my clients or for myself, if I'm going into the gym and I'm not really feeling it, I find kicking my heart rate up faster and harder will get my brain, or that chemical cocktail, normally into the position that it wants to be. Because normally if you go to the gym for the first 5 minutes, you're like, oh man, I don't want to be here. 30 minutes in though, and you're warm and you're feeling good, that's when you hit that flow state and you're like, oh man, like this feels good now. So for me, hitting a little, and this is not scientific, this is just like bro science, hitting a harder warm up and like making my heart rate kick higher will push me into that flow state a little bit quicker. So that's like something to maybe try. Next time you hit the gym, if your brain is trying to lead you out, go and hit a piece of a cardio equipment like a rowing machine or a ski machine or a bike, and just hit it a little bit harder for the first 10 minutes and like really try to beat yourself up so you're breathing, and then it might set the tone for what the rest of the workout might look like.
It actually happened to me today. Like I went to the gym today without Adam because I missed Monday, and I was doing back and tries, and I was like, oh my God, I don't want to be here. My brain was like, go home, take a nap before coming here. I got a whole day after this I got to get through. Like, you don't need to be at the gym today. That's what my brain was telling me. And then I was like, okay, I got to go. And I remember, Adam's always like, if you can get at least, like 3 sets, because we usually do 4, whatever his schedule is. He's like, if you get 3, it's good enough for the day. So my brain was like, don't leave early, don't not go, just go there and get the 3 in. And I did that. Like usually we do 4. If he was with me, he would have made me do 4, but my brain's like, oh, you don't want to be here. And I ended up getting 3, which was good for me, because I've been to the gym before where I walk in, like I said, pick up a dumbbell, 1, 2, 3, I'm going to Edo for lunch. You know what I mean? And I just walk out the door. I've done that multiple times.
Go and get a poutine because you need more food.
Yeah, there's protein in the curds, right? So, yeah. But yeah, that's 3 great little tips.
Yeah, and just kind of to piggyback off the 3 set thing and the discipline to push yourself through those 3 sets. So that, yeah, I mean, typically right now I like to hit, like you were saying, 4 sets per muscle group, but with 3 being the bare minimum. I mean, right now I'm in kind of a little bit more of a maintain phase, but again, speaking, when I speak to the level of dedication, when I talk to smaller guys who are trying to get big. So before, when I was, doing the battle from 150 pounds up to 220 pounds, I had to get every single set, every single rep in, right? Like that's the level of dedication. So I remember once I was working out and my girlfriend at the time was at her parents' house in Chestermere and her car broke down and I was halfway through my workout. So I left the gym, drove to Chestermere to pick her up, drove her to our house in Airdrie, drove back to the gym in Calgary and finished my workout.
Yeah.
Because I had that. There was no option. I had to get all of my reps and sets in, right?
Rat.
Yeah.
It's really funny when you fully commit. I used to do, I was landscaping in between summers of school, and I'd finish my day at 8 p.m. and my buddies would be like, hey, so do you want to go out and get something to eat? It's like, dude, it's 8 o'clock. I gotta get to the gym. They're like, dude, you've been working all day, physically working. I'm like, yeah, I gotta go to the gym. I didn't work out. I was working. That's not workout. Come on now. But that level of discipline is not something that everyone's going to get to. But if their goal means enough to them, they can, for sure. At the end of the day, our conversation today, I think, covered a variety of things in a few ways that we've talked about before. And some of it is I think it's really good for people to just hear, like, here's how my fitness journey is. Here's things that I've learned. Here's where I'm at. Here's some things that I notice. Like, how do I work through this? All of that stuff is cool. The last thing I'm going to ask you guys before we bounce here, you get one thing to say to somebody who's just going to start working out. What's the one thing you get to say? What are you going to give them as far as advice?
I already kind of touched on this. I would say time and patience, because I think what happens a lot is someone will go hard for 6 months. They won't really see the results they want, and they'll give up or start slacking. It's a really long, gradual process, right? And when I started, I was like, okay, then over the next year, I want to see some results, right? And you do observe. I mean, I've known Curtis the longest here, and he's observed those slow and steady results over the course of a year, right? If it was quick and it was easy, we'd go out on the street right now and everyone would be walking around looking fit and looking jacked, right? It's hard. Success in any area of life, whether it's relationship, finances, fitness, anything, it's hard, right? So you have to have that mindset, and you just have to be patient. And if you keep putting the work in day after day, the results absolutely will come.
For me, I would just say, grab a buddy and, find somebody that's around the same level as you to hold you accountable. If you look at like high school kids, when everyone's starting to, get jacked and get in the gym, there's usually a group of 6 of them at the gym. 3 months later, there's 2 of them left because they've held each other accountable. That always worked for me back in the day. I went without a partner for 10 years. I finally got one now, and I'm back. I would say that. And I would also say, be careful how deep you go in on the internet when you're Googling stuff about the fitness industry and about workouts and what you should do and what you shouldn't do. It's almost like if you have a headache and you Google it, it's going to tell you you're dying. You could look up any kind of exercise and you can get one guy who's very educated say, yeah, do it. Another guy saying, absolutely not. So maybe, find a coach who knows what they're doing, find somebody who's a personal trainer or just like a juice monkey like Adam, and, just be dedicated, like he said. Find a buddy and put your head down and go.
Yeah, man, for me, that's a big one. That's where I started too. I had my buddy that I would go with. His name was Curtis too, which was kind of funny. But he spelled it with a K because his parents can't spell very good. But anyways, for me, that's really how I kept myself accountable for many years. And even when we talk about like how come all these people fall off afterwards, you've got modeled behavior, you've got have we been educated in the system, and then it's like, well, what happens to the people that are going to the gym with them as they get older and have other priorities and whatever else? I think that is likely an area of challenge too. But I would like to thank both you guys for taking the time to do this today. I'm excited to hear what you guys have to say about the on your podcast about the environment in Calgary, we'll say.
We'll have to get you boys on ours when we launch it. So.
Oh,
Yeah, do you guys have a name yet? Are we releasing the name?
Well, Modz and Merk, I think he interrupted a question to plug.
Is it going to be like Modz and Merk, like YYC, or just like straight just Modz and Merk?
Modz and Merk.
Because our goal is to take over Calgary and then the world, so we don't want to pigeonhole to YYC.
Yeah.
So which
the
one
name's hold enough weight.
Which one of you's Pinky and which one's Brain then?
He's got an IQ of 4. He's not Brain. That's for damn sure.
I'm going to start calling you Pinky. I like that. That fits. Well, thanks for being here. If you guys are still here, again, the old like, subscribe, comment. If you guys have anybody that you'd like us to interview, please reach out and be like, hey, I want you to talk to so-and-so. We're going to reach out to a bunch of people in the next few weeks. I think we're going to go on quite the stint here of interviewing people that are involved in the fitness industry and other industries in the city and get their ideas on things in an effort to help you guys cut through the hype, see some of the things that are working, some of the things they've worked through and the process that it's been. And these different perspectives just really help you kind of see there's a way that can work even for somebody that's feeling the way that I feel. It's one of those things. You got anything else to say over there, Eric?
No, that was well said. Thanks for listening.
Cool. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us this week. We appreciate your support.
If you enjoyed this episode, we'd love it if you would subscribe, follow, and throw us a like on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts.